And we are bearded. You thought I was going to say live, but we are bearded here today. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dan C. Bearded, fresh off of having no voice for a week and all the crap. I don't know if it was the flu or what, but I'm back feeling 100. Absolutely normal today. First day. Yesterday I woke up pretty back to normal, but had a little throat, a little cough, a little nose, but I'm good to go now, you guys. And if I did not fully introduce myself, my name is Dan C. Bearded. I am the co-host of this show, 127 episodes in a row. And Jill, I just introduced myself. My name is Dan C. Bearded, of course, that handsome fellow. So thank you, Jill.
Redundancy.
I like my hat. But I appreciate the compliment, Jill. And then outside of that, speaking of the real handsome fella, the man we've met. True. Jeez, what a deadpan delivery there. But
fantastic.
The man next to me with a Costa Rican hat, with a wide world of tattoos from different varying artists, a man who displays himself with pride, and a man who has some new glasses that I'm sure he will tell us about. Mr. Dennis noticed. Jill was kind of alluding to it. So, Nick, first off, welcome. How are you today?
Doing pretty good, man. It's a weird week. We'll get into why. Everyone that's kind of close to our circle here knows that we've had a disturbance in the force this week, but that's okay. And it was a long time coming, so it's not like anything was unexpected.
Right.
But no, it's been a week, man. Getting used to glasses has been super interesting. We'll get into that, like you mentioned, but I'm liking them so far. I like the way they look. That's for sure.
And you're a doctor, so as John said, you have to, I think.
I mean, it's kind of on brand if you look at it, and what's funny, like when I first got on with you, you didn't even notice at first.
No.
And there's been that's been kind of like the most common reaction is, oh, because I always have sunglasses on. Everyone's used to me with some kind of frames on my face.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so. And I kind of went with glasses that are similar to the ones that I wear, as sunglasses anyhow, at least, color wise.
Right.
So I think it's kind of, I think it's kind of, it's a easy transition for most.
Okay. But transition lenses? No, just kidding.
Progressive lenses.
So what, just because I found it interesting, we were telling me a little bit about it. Why glasses now? Why is the need? And then kind of like what kind of glasses or anything you want to tell the people, because I found everything you said pretty interesting as a person that doesn't have glasses.
Yeah, well, I found it all pretty interesting because I was a person without glasses until yesterday. And, so it's a brave new world for me. So my eye doctor tells me that what changed is that I turned 40.
Yeah.
She's hilarious. She's like this. She's a new doctor to me. It's the first time I met her. She's from Thailand and she was really, really good. And she's like, oh yeah, no, I see the problem. I see what happened. And I was like, oh, what? You're looking at the images? She's like, no, you turned 41. She's like, first you went and turned 40 and then you had the nerve to turn 41. She's like, of course your eyes are going to hell. So it's weird. I had like 2015 vision in one eye. It's like better than 2020. But from looking at computer screens, apparently my dominant eye like strains and then the other one does something to compensate. And she said, basically, if I would have gone in like 10 years ago, I would have got reading glasses and that would have been about it.
Okay.
And I would have just been put them on when you read, take them off when you're done looking at your phone or whatever you're reading.
Right. Right.
But now I guess the science has progressed to the point where they can do binocular correction between your two eyes. So like what was happening for me, for example, is if I was driving or looking at something far away, my vision was for the most part fine. But then when I would refocus, like say you're looking at the car in front of you driving, and then you go look at like your radio, you got to your brain has to know how far away your radio is to focus on it quickly, to focus back at the car in front of you.
Right.
So if I did that at like 9 a.m, no problem. But come like 8 o'clock at night, looking between those two things, or even looking from the TV to my phone, I couldn't read my radio in my car after looking back and forth. And I couldn't read my phone after like dinner time.
Wow.
And I'm like, why is it in the morning I'm fine and then at night I'm not? And she said, basically, I'm spending all day focusing and then refocusing because the binocular depth isn't correct. So my eyes are just exhausted by the end of the day from refocusing. So this apparently corrects that and helps with the computer screen distance. So it's so I went to an ophthalmologist, not an ophthalmologist, sorry, optometrist. So I went to see, and I was bastardizing both of those words and making one that didn't exist. Thanks, Leo. I went to an optometrist, and then she said that I don't have any reason for an ophthalmologist because, and as far as I understand it, ophthalmologists are kind of like
they're really like they feel really good about the future and things that are going to happen in a great way.
That would be an optimist. Very, very close. Yeah.
It was a joke.
Optometrists.
It was a joke, guys.
Listen, and it's been my experience that optometrists are actually pretty pessimistic. They always have this dire outlook on what you need and that your eyes are going to fall out of your head if you don't do what they say. But so the ophthalmologists are the ones that like know the mechanics of your eyeball. And they're like the ones that would be, if there was someone to perform surgery on your eye or to do anything mechanically to it, that would be an ophthalmologist. Whereas an optometrist is someone that can work diagnostically with things to augment what your eye does with things like contact lenses and glasses.
Everybody's laughing. I needed to make that clear that I understand being an optimist I did not confuse that with eyes. It was a joke.
That was clearly a joke.
Yeah.
It was really funny too. So if you weren't laughing, that just means you weren't smart enough to get it.
Pull
a little Kill Tony in there. No, that's Adam Ray all day.
Yeah. But I think people still think that I didn't know, like that was a joke. That was very much a joke. So
Dan was being facetious.
Yeah, regardless. But no, it's cool.
I thought you were going to throw in an irregardless there. No, but no, so it was kind of cool. I mean, I've always been a glasses nut anyway. I have a sunglasses problem.
Yeah.
And the person at the glasses store says that it's not a problem at all and that I'm allowed to refer to it as a hobby. And that makes it perfectly healthy. And I'm allowed to buy as many as I'd like.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
Over that. And now I have a whole new reason to accessorize. Look at me.
Exactly. So awesome. Now, is it from wake up to bed, you have them on, or is it times where they're off? I don't know what that's like, that experience.
I don't know either.
True.
They basically patted me on the helmet and sent me on my way, put me back on the bike and said, giddy up and, come back if you have problems. So I was given very little instructions. But they do say I have 90 days to kind of like to make adjustments if necessary. But what I've been doing so far is like, after I get out of the shower and kind of just get all the way ready, as soon as I'm going to be either doing something on the computer or walking around, I kind of put them on and then leave them on. And so far, my eyes got kind of sick of them a couple times yesterday because I think I started, I was thinking about where to look instead of just letting them do it. So I started getting like kind of motion sickness and kind of like some weird stuff going on yesterday, but they're progressives. So like I was telling you, it's like you got like this kind of like hourglass shape almost where it's like distance and intermediate and then reading. So like I can like, if I have my phone like down here, instead of like looking down at it like this, I would just kind of like look down through the bottom of the lens at it. And it looks super duper clear, which is awesome. And then my computer screen's like, I was telling you, everyone will get a kick out of this. I was telling Dan that when I was like giving him an example, I'm like, yeah, when I used to look at a screen, I used to like have to lean into the screen like this. And he's like, yeah, you do that on stream like all the time when you're trying to read someone's comment. I'm like, I do? Like, I didn't even know that I couldn't see things that were small on my screen before, because I've always just had perfect vision. So I think my body just adapted to not having perfect vision,
Yeah. So
so that's basically what we're looking at. Very similar.
Interesting. And then your body is supposed to get used to it and just do it by itself.
Yeah. Your brain, apparently after some people within a couple of days and some people up to 2 weeks, your brain just gets used to where to look. And so, like Keith is saying, you have to move your head, not just your eyes. Right. Because like, if I wanted to look, and Keith, to that point, I'm like getting advice here from people that have used progressive lenses over years because I'm like new to the game here. What I've noticed is like my natural instinct is to look over at something with my eyes and then turn my head. And now I'm learning I kind of have to do that in a different order. Like I kind of have to turn my head and look as opposed to like looking and then going, because the field of vision changes and you'll get like this weird like ball
Blur.
rolling effect across everything. And that
Interesting.
was not pleasant yesterday figuring that out. I was like,
Right,
whoa.
because it's almost like when you get a kink in your neck and you have to turn your head first as compared to just turning your eyes.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like one kind of has to follow the other. Yeah, Keith's saying you kind of got to get used to that, I guess. So I suppose that's normal. So everything I'm kind of, yeah.
So Tool Booth Willie said they could lower where that transition is. So like you said, you get 90 days, and he kind of figured out his like personal preference for where the sweet spot was.
Dude, you're actually you're saying exactly what I said yesterday. I said that I felt like I was having to look over the intermediate zone to get into like the clear zone. So like I kept accidentally like looking through the intermediate when I was trying to be far away, and I was like, and I was having to like look over it, and like I felt like I was looking over like a hill. And so maybe that's it. Maybe I need to get the widest spread at the bottom.
Yep, widest spread at the bottom so you can move your eyes instead of your head. That checks out.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So like right now with these ones, they said that I do have a full bottom reading zone. So like I can look down at the bottom and I'm clear over there, like, and over here just by moving my eyes. But in the middles, I don't know. Now I think my eyes are kind of getting used to it. The middle zone might need to drop down a little bit though. That's the first thing I said yesterday when I put them on, is I was like, I feel like that intermediate zone's up high a little bit. And I think it's from when it's like the last step they do when they're fitting you up for the glasses too. They have you put them on with like non-prescription lenses in, and then you put this little goggle in front of you and you look to see where like this little image of a barn is. And then they like mark the lenses to see where your eye is. And it's like the girl in the store that's like helping you pick out glasses that does it. And I'm like, this seems like a pretty critical component here. And you're like the least qualified person in the entire store doing it. And I'm kind of wondering like why they leave this task in your hands. Like, let's run that one back again. Make sure that dot goes in the same place. Like, let's do it twice. She wasn't interested. So they went where they went. So I think I might need to get them lowered.
Interesting. Nate said he actually went yesterday as well and got new glasses. They tried to tell me he used up his insurance, and he goes, I haven't bought them in years.
Dude, it's so crazy. Vision and dental insurance are like the two most worthless pieces of insurance you can possibly get.
Interesting. And
unless you're really careful.
So ridiculous. Yes. Oh my God. As someone who's been a couple years on my own free market for insurance, it's crazy. But Kev says also, if your glasses are knocked out of alignment or slide down your nose, they're off. The setup is very important. Right. They got to be able to stay there in the same spot.
Yeah, they do. And thankfully these stay pretty damn well. Like I love these things. These frames are awesome. They're like they're made by JMM. I'll see if I can get a good image here of them.
Those are crazy sick. Crazy.
You can tell I was down in the shop earlier because I already have crap all over the line.
Do you smell in HD now? Can you have your radio up louder now?
Oh yeah, exactly. I can now get lost and not need to turn my radio down.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that.
So like these things are all hand painted too. It's just kind of neat. They're like epoxy. All those little things in the side, like those little round spots up front there. There we go. Those are all cool. Hand inlaid, and yeah, they're pretty neat.
And Leo suggested Nerd Wax if you have a problem with the glasses sliding down the nose.
Not yet. These haven't moved. Like I literally, like when I first tried these things on, I was like, oh, those fit really nice. And then I haven't adjusted them or done anything. From like they were off the shelf. They just fit, and I haven't had to mess with any part of them.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with Dan. The frames look nice. I'm a Ray-Ban guy myself, so it kind of has that vibe to it.
Yeah, they're neat. They're made by JMM. And if I'm not butchering the name of it, it's like Jacques. It's like Jacques Marie Mage, I think is how you say it. But everyone just says JMM for the most part, is what I can tell.
I wonder why.
Yeah, gee.
All right. On a more difficult note, G Squared, our guy, says at home today taking care of the family. Wife broke her ankle. G Squared, actually, just before the stream, saw your post on that. I think she was like going to the bus stop, stepped off the curb, and then snap. I think was walking a dog. Anyone got any experience with that? It wasn't the worst break, but a break is a break. So G Squared, luckily, I have broken my ankles 3 times. One very, very seriously, compound fracture, bang, bone sticking out of the side. Yeah,
No.
nasty little scar. That was in a basketball game in front of my whole school, and the bone was sticking out, and they had to cart me off to the ambulance. So that was a horrible one.
Dear God.
Yeah, and then the others were just kind of normal breaks. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy to the recovery, just elevation. Once you get into physical therapy, it's going to suck tremendously, but it's worth every ounce of pain.
Do the physical therapy.
Yeah, go through the pain of physical therapy rather than a lifelong problem. I still daily, every single day, have to do ankle stretches. One of the things I do is I have to leave my legs off the bed, and then I have to, with 1 foot at a time, I have to draw the alphabet. So I go through and I A, B, C with my foot, using my ankle and just strengthening that so I don't have crazy arthritis later in my life. So yeah, been there many, many, many times, G Squared. The only benefit is I can tell when it's going to get really bad weather coming because my ankle stiffens up really bad.
Yep.
Yeah. What about you? Any ankle family injuries or any personal ones?
No, I mean, no, not really. I mean, my mom who's in the chat has had like one of her legs is shorter than the other because of a water ski accident where she broke her femur, in the leg. But no, I don't have any experience with the ankle much. All I know is mine suck. They crack like crazy all the time. And I grew up, rollerblading before they knew about ankle strength and ankle guards at all. I remember back in the day, you had a choice of low top or high top inline skates. Like that's when I started inline skating, when those things you could still get like low tops without even having any ankle support. So I'm shocked that I have not broken one, but no, I have not.
Yeah, I was a low tops basketball player my whole life because they looked cooler. And it's crazy how it doesn't support the ankle whatsoever. And if you like go up for a dunk and you land on somebody's foot and your ankle rolls to the outside, it doesn't like 200 pounds of force coming down on a little angle, So
listen, I'm already getting used to new glasses, already a little woozy. We don't need any compound fracture.
Yeah, no.
Today.
G Squared said they got it on video from the doorbell, the Ring doorbell. Oh, that could be good and bad.
Hey, in a world where everything is videotaped.
Yeah. Yep. No, that is very, very true. And Nick, Arden would like you to know he is wearing your hat today.
Oh, why? Thank you, sir. I knew I had a little extra confidence in my step today for some reason. It's because Arden's rocking the brand out there for us. Should have known.
Yep. I told Sam something that you told me yesterday about timing and like finding out something and how you just knew. And I said to her, and she goes, doesn't he do that all the time? I said, yeah. And she was like, with some people, I can't tell when they say if stuff is like fake like that or if they're making it up. She goes, with Nick, I just feel like it's all real. I was like, yeah, that kind of checks out. If he's saying he felt a little confidence because of the hat, I believe him. So you got something, dude.
It's one of those things. I have a lot of people in my corner this week for various reasons, and it's much appreciated, and it is not going unnoticed. That is for sure.
Absolutely, you got a nice circle surrounding you.
That we do, man. That we do.
I love it. All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about whatever you guys want. We're going to do the random wheel. We got some topics for some tangents. But first, I just wanted to tackle a statement that is important to Dr. Nix and kind of really resonated with me in this last week because I had a lot of people asking me different questions about different aspects of Dr. Nix. And a slogan that they kind of live by is the Dr. Nix difference. And I would love to hear from the chat. Not like, what do you love about this company? Not what is your favorite? Nothing like that. Not Command's Corner style. But if there's anything that comes to mind to you about the Dr. Nix difference, and I'm not saying compared to other beard companies, I'm not saying to anything like that, just in general, is there something that feels like it's different with Dr. Nick's? Is there something that feels like it's different with Nick? If there's something different with Jill? And then while they're kind of formulating that, Nick, to you, you started this company. You've been on an interesting journey of ups and downs over the last 10 years now, right? We're coming up on 10 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't it
Yep. Well,
2015?
no, we're just past. Yeah. I mean, technically end of 14, beginning of 15. I think we made our first sale right in the beginning, January, February 2015. So I think we're right at 10 years.
10 years, little lower points where not because of anything with the business, but other priorities and businesses and life. And then you came back just about 2-3 years ago, and it's been an upward climb and completely invested. If somebody were to walk away from the company as it stands now, and they were to say, hey, my experience was different with Dr. Nick's, where's an area where you're like, we're very prideful that we have a difference with this aspect or that aspect, just anything in general that really is something, a source of pride for you, for Jill, and everybody associated with Dr. Nick's?
I mean, we want to be different in every single possible way there is to be different. So, I mean, that's such a hard, it's an interesting question. So, like, what does the Dr. Nick's difference mean? Like, to me personally, there's a product difference, there's a culture difference. And I think the two of them, there's not one that's really more important than the other. But I think really it speaks to the goal, which is our products are different because no one else cares about the level of the level of care that goes into the scent profiles of an all essential oil based product line is a standout difference no matter what way you look at it. And for even the other people that are out there doing essential oil based products, we're also very different because the formulation process is so nuanced that the difference from a product standpoint is an easy one to see, right? We're all natural. We're all we're all fragrance oil free, all essential oil based. So like right then you're going to get a natural side of really high end ingredients. And that's really the goal, is to take stuff that only exists in those higher end products that exist in the cosmetic world that are loaded with a lot of fragrance and a lot of fragrance oils. I wanted quality products that had high end ingredients, that had that pedigree, that unfortunately just didn't exist because those don't come without fragrance oils in the market of high-end cosmetics and skincare products.
Right.
So that's the biggest standout difference for me, is that you can get the level of product and the level of quality ingredients that you'll see in really high-end department store products, but without a bunch of the crap that they put in there for shelf life, distribution, and selling it on 4 continents all around the world and hundreds of millions of SKUs. So, I mean, that's a marked difference, number one. And I guess the next piece really leads right into that. I want people to feel that. Like, I don't ever want our products to get into somebody's hands blindly, not understanding the difference, because that's not, to me, selling the value of what Dr. Nick's provides. That's why we're not in every big box store. That's why we're not on a shelf where someone doesn't talk to you about what, why we're different before you buy it. That's just not where we want to go.
And I can vouch for that, guys. There was actually a recent situation, to not share too much, and this is funny because another company owner messaged me yesterday about a similar topic, where a supplier contacted me and was like, hey, you've covered this Dr. Nick's a lot. Do you think that they'd be interested in doing like a wholesale situation? I'm like, I don't know. Let me connect you guys. Nick started interacting. I was kind of talking with the guy. And then at the end of the day, they wanted a big order. And Nick and Jill just kind of felt like it didn't match the brand. It didn't match their difference and what they stood for, and turned down that business opportunity. And yesterday was kind of a crazy day for Nick. Otherwise, I would have texted you about it. I had a company owner message me and goes, dude, have you ever heard of this international supplier? They're a pain in my bleep. And they went on a rant about all these things. Like, we sent this huge international order, and then we get a note back about how they want this different, this different, this different, and they're shipping to the other side of the world, and how they don't understand how it's just not that simple for us just to switch these things and have all these things. They were like, have you had any experience, because this company covers a couple of small batch American companies? And I was like, very limited, but it was not the best impression. But if Nick wasn't true to what he said, and they would have offered this wholesale deal, and he saw just dollars, it would have been done. It would have been sent. It would have been out the door. But the analysis was, they're not going to be able to represent this brand in the way that they wanted. And crazy Turns out you were right. And other companies are venting to me about how they regret going with that supplier, that wholesaler. Literally yesterday.
Dude, you get those feelings sometimes. My spidey senses were going off on that one for sure. And it's like, but that's what gets me. So again, going back to that Dr. Nick's difference, it's like, that's a part of it. I don't, I want the people who use our products to know and feel special and just know exactly how special the products are, but how special they are. Right. And we make people feel like that. We don't want anyone to feel our growth. And what I mean by that, and that's it's a light statement, but it's a really important one. I'll say it again. I never want you guys to feel our growth. Like we started a culture and we started a company, we started a community, and we started a movement behind a certain type of product. And you guys expect a certain level of service and a certain level of quality. And I never want that to change. And so if we're doing that on a small scale, you guys have input, you feel valued, you feel like your voices are heard, you're part of the community, you're part of the creative process, and you're part of why we exist. If we're 10 times the size that we are now someday, that's fine, but I never want to lose that culture. And if we can't get to 10 times our size without losing that culture, then we're never going to get to 10 times our size. We're going to support the family-owned business and the lives and the families that we support the way we support them now, and we're happy with that.
I think that's huge because
and so that's the difference, right? The difference is in the product, the difference is in the culture, but really, I think it comes down to the fact that we wanted to start something where we could build something that people liked and not destroy it by doing it in a larger scale. And I feel like there's so many things that I love out there that are products that have been bought by a larger company and the product goes to hell, or the company grows, they take on investment, the team grows, the owners are completely diluted and nowhere involved, and the product suffers and the experience dealing with them suffers. And I just, in my mind, I thought that there is a way where you can create that craft, small batch culture, and you can grow it without losing it. And so it's the dirt road, right? It's not the easy path. But I think that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. And I know this guy Nate's talking about here, but he said a smart guy once told me, stay as small batch for as long as possible. And I really live by this. Stay small enough, long enough, and you'll be big enough soon enough.
Yeah, that's it.
It's true. It's
slow and steady wins the race on that one.
I had somebody come in my live stream last night, and they said they had not been in a live stream in over 6 years. This was like, they said 6 or 7. I haven't been streaming for 7. So they were up, but they was like, I haven't been in live stream over 6 years. And they're like, dude, you blew up. And it's like, well, 6 years. Yeah. I mean, it definitely was different from 1,000 subscribers to 92,000, but it was small enough. Still is small enough. It's just been for long enough. It's just been consistent where it's at. And as someone that gets to like survey the scene and see companies go in every direction, up, down, sideways, all over, there's 2 very difficult aspects of a beard care company. Number 1 is getting started and becoming legitimate. Now, what do I mean by that? Getting outside of the hobbyist, getting outside of the Wild West. You actually care about FDA laws and regulations. You actually care about IFRA. You actually care about doing stuff in a way that is going to be profitable and take care of your taxes and all this stuff. That's difficult to do. Most never break outside of that. They just become the hobbyist. Then the other very challenging thing I see is once you've broken through that, how do you scale in a way that stays true to your company? And very few do that. As they scale, they start to become business people, and they start to watch business videos, and they watch all these speakers. And for example, I talked to a company owner that was scaling and growing, and all they wanted to talk about was setting up their exit plan. And I was like, well, why are we thinking about this? Why are we having a full out meeting about an exit plan and how you're going to sell the company? I was like, do you intend to? They're like, well, no, but this expert told me I have to have this exit plan, and that if I'm not building revenue to certain X's and I'm not doing this and that, then I'm failing at my business. And I'm like, what? But you're like making choices now that are hurting the values of your company just to get your numbers in a certain way to look in a way that you can sell.
Right.
Especially if you're not intending to sell. And so that aspect's very, very difficult. And what Nick said there, like, strikes me to the core and is one of the reasons why I rock with them so hard. They said, hey, if we get to 10X, that's awesome, as long as we can stay where we are. if we can't get there with doing what we do, we're just not going to get there, and we're going to be happy with that. And once people have reached beyond that legitimate phase, it's very hard to think about things in that way. And it goes all to the grounding and modesty and humility of Nick and Jill. And I agree. I think that's 100% an aspect of the Dr. Nick's difference.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, and it's not to say that we're not going to make decisions that support the business either, right?
For sure.
I think people really do. They kind of get it mixed up where they either have to be like this cold, fickle, black and white business person to succeed, or they're going to be wishy-washy and fail. And I mean, there's definitely a very large middle ground there. I think that people overlook quite a bit, and I think you got to buffer yourself with your core values. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, there's certain things that's like, I feel like people that are building things up to do revenue-based growth decisions.
Yep.
They kind of set out to build a revenue engine, and the product and the community they build to do it was very much a secondary platform to get there. Whereas if you set out to build a community and you set out to make like a really cool lifestyle brand that you can be proud of and really enjoy the company of your customers and the community and partners that have you built, you're not going to all of a sudden to just decide to do something different, right? Because to me, if you have to dilute what you're doing to the point where some of those people do, that's not like you're scaling what you're doing. You've made a tectonic shift in your direction, right? And the direction is towards revenue, not towards those other things that I mentioned. And so, to me, that would be like almost like a different line of business, right? Yeah. And so, we don't have any intentions on just on doing something different because this didn't work. This is working just great. And we are making adjustments and there's things coming this year that you guys are going to see. And, the larger audience that we have is going to probably notice it more than you guys do. But, inflation's real, supply chain's real, right? Pricing adjustments are real across every industry in the world. And we're experiencing them just like anybody else. But what we're not going to do is plant our heels in the ground and make stupid decisions that make it so where we're financially, hurting and can't keep growing, right? And so, but again, it's doing it in ways that make sense and benefit the community and benefit us, therefore making all of us stronger, right? Just like Dan says, it's like the rising tides raise all ships, and it's so true. But again, the way we do that is very different, right? We talk to everyone about it ahead of time. We get input. We kind of do lots of testing, and we do lots of litmus testing just on our messaging with people to say, hey, we heard all of you guys say this. Did we hear that right? And we're kind of going this direction with it. Is that what you were thinking? Before we even blast it out to the larger audience of you guys. So it's right. Lots of care goes into that.
It's true. And kind of last thing on that topic of like scaling and growing in the mindset, like you said, not just becoming like black and white. It's almost an aspect where I relate it to sports, where there are some traits that make you great, but also can be challenges. So let's say you're growing this business and you're like, my drive to be the best, my drive to be great is what gets us through that legitimate phase. But then you also want to continue to grow and be greater. So what do? You'd start taking all these business classes, listen to these business experts, and then it takes you down this road you didn't plan on. It kind of happens with coaching athletes, where I'll have athletes that are unbelievably competitive, and that's what makes them great. They're so competitive. But they do have to learn in practice, in training. Sometimes you've got to tone that down, and it's not about winning this drill. It's about learning the task at hand, but their motor won't stop. Their motor's like, but they finished first. I'm like, I know, we're not competing right now. Right. It's the same kind of thing when someone gets super into business. You got to almost peel them back a little bit and be like, I get it. You're a business person. That's what made you great. But don't lose what really matters to you, and that's learning and growing. And so I think that's a line that, as an observer from the outside, that you guys walk very well.
We're trying to, man. It's like, and it's one of those things where there's no instruction book for it, right? There's very little to no advice to build things the way we're building it, right?
Not in this industry, especially.
Right. Exactly. Right. So it's kind of like raising kids. There's no playbook when you get, when you have kids all of a sudden. It's like you have you have your intentions and you do the best you can.
Yeah. And Leo says, I think the health aspects of their products and commitment to the larger community is different from other companies. I agree. Like the way you guys emphasize on essential oils, not just because of how they smell, but what they can do for your skin, for aromatherapy, and everything has a purpose in that bottle. And
it's a true apothecary approach.
And that's the whole concept of the witch doctor, of
Yep.
Dr. Nix. That's everything right there. It's not something that you've just kind of woven as you've gone and like,
Mm-mm.
oh yeah, that's our thing. Like that is the Dr. Nix difference right there.
Yeah. And no, and
Right
being,
there.
and I think that if you look at the name and the brand and the art and the style and sort of everything that goes behind it, it is sort of it's prescriptive apothecary based care, right?
Yeah.
And that very much is, I guess, what it is. If you sum it up, we gotta clip that one. Prescriptive apothecary care. Like I really like it because it is taking the holistic approach and using things like essential oils and plant oils to heal the body. But at the same time, we do so in a very prescriptive, not blanket statement kind of a way. We have things that are very targeted and there for a very certain reason. And we like to vocalize and talk about what those things are for and their purposes. So in that sense, it is sort of prescriptive. So I guess at the end of the day, that's it.
All right, you got your notepad ready? You're better at spelling than me, so you got that. And Kev says, we've said it many times, but Dr. Nix pulled us into the beard world and kept us here. Great stuff. I kind of think about you guys or even my own channel at times where you think of like, again, sorry to relate to sports, but Greg Popovich, the San Antonio Spurs coach, probably the best basketball coach ever. If you look at his coaching tree, meaning the people that were assistant coaches of his and players that have now gone on and coached, it is vast. It is ridiculous. And when you guys think about your influence, your umbrella of influence, whether it's introducing people to the beard world and community as a first stop, and then they get to find other aspects, or people like Amber and Kev, who came in only trying your products, falling in love with it. Now they have their own show. They've got their own newsletter. They're unbelievably involved. You were the start of that for them, which is really cool to think about that positive influence that you have, that it's not just here. It has legs that grows everywhere.
That's like the coolest butterfly effect ever. And I actually I guess I didn't fully realize that, guys. There's like, I mean, that's huge. If we can be like the beginning part, like the doorway of anyone's journey into something positive that brings enrichment to their lives in some way, like giddy up. It's one of those things like I care much more about the impact of just opening the door to something positive for somebody than it actually about what it is or how it works or even any of those things. So I mean that's huge. And I think seeing that, I didn't realize until probably about a year or so ago that Dr. Nix was sort of doing that for people in different ways, where it was either there was people that couldn't grow a beard before that were now able to grow a beard. And because of that, ... happened, right? And like, look at you guys, right?
Yep.
You decided it was something that you guys were actually super passionate about, and you liked the beard community, and you wanted to, like Dan said, do your own show and your own newsletter. So all of a sudden, having something that made a part of you feel good and gave you confidence to do it, gave you confidence to do more. And it was like that snowball effect of like one good thing happens and that sets a bunch more good things in motion. So the fact that we can be any part in that process of chain reaction happening in someone's life is beyond anything we could have imagined. That's for sure.
So true. Look at this from Todd. Todd's had a bunch of great comments, but he said, my wife literally said last night, I never thought I would ever like the smell of beard oil.
See,
that's super cool.
That's freaking awesome.
Yep. Until you started wearing Dr. Nix, of course.
I love that.
That's really cool. Dynamite says the difference to him is consistency, care, and passion, not to mention that carrier blend. Jim says commitment to phenomenal, healthy products and always striving to be better. And I would say at the end of the day, right, every company has their thing and what they value. Some companies, it's unbelievably complex and rich scent profiles. Other companies, it's innovation and pushing the limits. I think you would be entirely okay if people remember the difference of your company and one word was healthy. I think that would be something you'd sleep well with at night.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely it would.
Yep.
And I'm actually looking right now, Todd, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Todd, big thank you for your this gigantic order you placed the other day. I believe I thought that was you, and I saw your name came by there, and I just confirmed. So much appreciated for the support, man. And
walking the walk.
we have got to get a picture of you sent back to our Instagram and you in one of those clean ass white hats, man. I want more photos of people in the white hats. So please send one in. I'd love to see it on you.
That'd be cool. And he says the experience has been different than anything else he's tried. They are the best kept secret for beards, and he's aiming to help change that.
Dude, beautiful. And I mean, that's huge. And you know what? Like, it's statements like that end up in our ad prints, right?
Facts.
In our ad language. We go through these comments on these live streams. And like when we're working to figure out what we're going to put on an ad that pops up in a Google search on the side or a sponsored listing, every single one, that's it. I mean, like that's our marketing language all day right there.
And Timothy, on the topic of the Dr. Nick's difference, says, just like with food, the difference between an average cook and a great cook is the love they put into the food, and it's what makes the Dr. Nick's difference. So love, I like that one. I like that.
Secret ingredient. I mean, you're giving away our secrets there. It's and that's why it's the one piece too. It's interesting as we kind of grow. We do see a couple of growth limiting decisions that we've made along the way, and our scent profiles are so delicate in a lot of ways. That's the one piece that we think we are going over. We have people that help us with bottling and labeling and packing, shipping, and weighing, and every single part of it. The one piece that doesn't have anybody else even remotely close to even looking at it or touching it is formulation and blending of our scent profiles. And making our essential oil bases, and that's all Jill. And I just don't see that changing, right? Even if it's the only thing that she ends up doing, where we're so busy that she has to be making just big blended batches of essential oil bases, each week to get blended into different products. I honestly see that as like the long pole in the tent that Jill will probably kind of always be stuck doing. Because I just don't see anybody else caring about it as much as she does. You know what I mean? Like we can't guarantee and promise that we're going to know what is in someone else's head when they're doing that. Right. But we know what's in ours.
Yep. And you're welcome, Todd. It's an absolute honor and joy of my life to help people. Just like Nick said, it gives me as much joy to connect you guys with companies like that. And so, yeah, that means a lot. And Mark, this is super cool. And I know Dr. Nix can feel this to the core. I just had an interaction with a purchase from another beard company yesterday. Why is everything happening yesterday? Everything's like so timely right now. My wife said yesterday
was a weird day.
But had interaction with beard company yesterday, and all I could think, this is so crazy. All I could think walking away was, I miss Dr. Nick's amazing man stuff's customer service. That's crazy. It's like the ex that you can't get out of your head, but you're still dating them, and you were flirting around. You're like, gosh, man, Dr. Nick's would have not treated me like that in the customer service.
Yep. I mean, man. I mean, again, you get people that are, it's just, I don't know. You can't bottle it. No pun intended. You can't duplicate it. It's like, when someone calls with a question and you're speaking to me or you're speaking to Jill, you're definitely, there's going to be a marked difference between that and just about anybody else you deal with. Because, I like to think we still like what we do, and we like the people we do it for. And you guys are going to tell that. And we know most of your names, and you're not a number. And, it's just, I don't know. It's so vastly different. I feel bad for anyone that's trying to keep up with our level of customer service and consistency and everything else, because, man, it took us 10 years to get to this point. So it's
and Nick has said it before. He'd rather spend $100 keeping great customers for life than spend $10 going after new customers.
Oh yeah, easy.
And that's the investment right there.
Because of this sort of feedback right there.
Right.
Like you can't buy that kind of feedback. You have to prove it, you got to earn it, and you got to build it. And so that is worth protecting versus going out and getting someone who may or may not even like what we have.
Facts. And Nate's right. He said it, and it's true for almost all industries that small batch is synonymous with high quality, and larger scales tend to slip on quality. That's just the nature of the beast, right? We can all think of a natural deodorant that had all the small batch hype, all the love in the world. They were bought by a large company, something like a P&G, and then now their stuff is not as good. You might say that they are naive if you try this. It's not the same word, but yeah, you get what I mean. So yeah, nope, you're exactly right.
It's funny.
Right.
I was shooting a video for you the other day, actually, and I got to shoot it over to you. It was a rambling video for a new format of stuff that we want to start putting out here on this channel that you and I have talked about that no one else has really seen yet. And so I'm in the car, I'm shooting a video while I'm driving, and I got to talking, a spoiler alert, about, it was weird. People ask me about like, well, you got that 89 K5 Blazer. Like, what's it like driving that 2025 like EV Hummer? And I'm like, oh, it's cool, but it doesn't have a soul. I mean, it's neat, but it's like completely soulless.
Just a robot.
And, yeah, and like it just rolls off the tongue, right? And I've always just thought it. And so I started thinking while I was driving, like, they're cars. Like, in my head, what gives this 89 K5 Blazer that runs on gas and doesn't have any computers? Why in my brain does that vehicle have a soul and this new one doesn't? And what it came down to at the end of my rambling video, where I was like, is this the type of stuff that's going to work for this? And it came down to imperfection is what gives something the feeling of a soul, even when it's something that's mechanical, that isn't living and breathing, that isn't organic at all. I feel like humans are so imperfect that's why we relate to things that are imperfect. And I think if you have something that's small batch and craft and smaller scale, you get that feeling of that, not just the entity itself, but the products almost have that feeling of a little bit more relatable imperfection. And when you get to that large scale and things are very scientific and clinical and exact, I think you lose that feeling of having like of like some sort of existence you can't put your finger on.
Yeah.
And I think that little missing particle is actually imperfection.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing.
Bobby, yes, he does have one of the Hummer EVs.
Yes, right, sir. There. That thing's it's like driving around in Optimus Prime. It's awesome.
Nice. Nice. All right. And then, all right, little story. So Todd said, I am a small business owner, so I understand. Jill said, what do you do, Todd? And Nick, I would like you to read his comment here. And then I would also love, I think this is a connection bound to happen. He said, I help companies reduce their shipping costs through rate negotiation and provide our technology.
That's fantastic. And so, yeah. Dude, you're speaking our language. And I don't know if you've been, I'm not sure if you've been around for some of the episodes where we've gone through like our shipping adjustments and changes. The things. Yeah, shipping changes, growing pains, those sorts of things. And what's interesting is like, even at the volume that we're at, like we're still having to use a broker with a, app-based, API integrations, and they have their own accounts with, with the providers, because like even with UPS, we're still too small because we're not 1,000 shipments a week yet. So, and even if we are, it's not all UPS. So it's like we have to make the holistic switch to stick with it. And then as we grow, we'll break over like a threshold where all of a sudden it makes sense and we can negotiate rates. But I think, I would love to pick your brain though, because it's interesting to know, like, are we in a spot where a negotiation with a direct account for different zone-based rates is worth it? Or is it just like, stick with the big guys, easy ship easy, ship station, those sorts of things, so I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah. He said, there are ways, brother.
Well, I might be reaching out and getting you some more boxes of sweet merch and stuff coming your way. We can talk about some shipping rates.
Yeah. Reach out to him. He said he'd run a free analysis, and then Nick will kick some nectar of the gods for your beard.
That sounds good, man. Let's do that. Shoot us an email, Todd, over at customer service at drnext.com. So I'd like to set up a time where we could go over that.
For sure. And Keith says, just opened his products a couple days ago in beard now, and he believes it, and his beard has never been softer.
I'm so glad to hear that. And hopefully these months, I don't know where you are, Keith, but if it's cold and dry where you are, hopefully that barrage and marula is starting to work its magic on your skin too.
Yeah. And good question here by Dylan. So one of the things you guys are prideful in is helping out the homeless community, whether it's with makeovers, whether it's with Christmas dinners, stuff like that. But donating ounce for ounce your body wash, he just has a straightforward question. How is that possible to be able to, again, you're a business. You're not a nonprofit. You're not something that is a wash. To make this happen, you need to make a profit, just like anybody else would want and should. How is it possible to do that and still maintain a business?
It takes a village, is the short answer to that one. You need to get, in order to support our idea. We had to get other people behind our ideas, right? And if you want to do something and you're not a nonprofit, if you're not a 501c and you're not, trying to bury any amount of profit that you have in sort of like charitable side of the business that absorbs it, in my mind, if we're going to partner with somebody, and we're going to partner with suppliers for things, they should be aligned at least at the quality of product level, but hopefully at the ideals and morals and core values levels too.
Yep.
And so I actually got our suppliers to put their skin in the game along with us. And we basically take a hit on the packaging, and our suppliers take the hit on all of the materials, and we handle the shipping. So we basically run our body wash at a slightly reduced margin to absorb a double cost of packaging. And so if we double the packaging line item as part of our margin adjustment for that SKU, we then again have our suppliers take the burden of the things that go in the bottles, and then we take the burden of shipping them. So we've managed to do that and keep it going by getting our suppliers behind us and saying, listen, if you want our business, you're going to have to help us with something that's really important to us, which is the donation side of our business. We're a for-profit company. We need to be able to give back. And we think that, with our relationship moving your product, I think that we should probably get something together where you can help support our initiatives. And they do. And all you have to do is ask, right. And it's when people don't like asking that stuff because they feel like they're asking for a handout. And for me, it's not asking for a handout. That's, someone should, and they should be prideful that they have us as one of their companies that are formulating with their materials. And if they want our business, they should help support our initiatives just like we support theirs.
That's beautiful. Dylan, great question. I didn't even know that aspect. So fantastic question and an even better answer. I love that. Yeah, really, really love that. That's
it's important. Cool. I think if you try to wave a flag too hard that isn't in line with the people that are behind you waving it, you end up eventually just wearing yourself out. Yep. and just just digging a hole for yourself because you end up taking it all on as a burden and you don't have any buy-in from the people around you. And they got to have some skin in the game too.
And that's exactly kind of right here. The real CEO, who's obviously a massive Dr. Nick's fan, he said he's had great service and they were all my affiliates. Same concept. I need to make sure the products are at a level for me to work with companies, but they also need to align with me on service and morals. And that's why my list is fluid and does change and companies do drop. And oftentimes it's not like the worst reason in the world. People message me and think there's some bombshell and I just say, well, we just weren't on the same page. It just didn't simply work out, And so I love that that's your approach with the suppliers in that situation. That's brilliant. And it's a win all. It benefits everyone in the most pure way.
And the nice part is that we actually, here's another thing I'll throw out there too for people that, people like to look at us like, with a side eye. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but people do look at us interestingly sometimes with the donation and wonder what goes on with it and the motivations behind it and everything else. But you said something just then that spurred a thought about that. And then it left me. What was it?
Hey, I was talking about affiliates and that the list changes and is fluid and it's got to be morals and product quality.
Yeah, I forgot what it was, but that's okay because in my forgetting of what it was, Jill did remind me to make sure that we mentioned something else here.
I was literally removing that. So Nick set the stage and then I'll drop when it's timely.
So again, by popular demand, just like everything else. And it's live on the website right now. It's good to go. Peppermint rosemary in a balm stick. So
bam. It was favorite scent from this company available in a balm stick.
In a balm in a stick, which I'm using today, by the way. Anyone that wonders about a balm, they're like, I don't like using balms because I don't like the look it gives my beard. I don't like anything with too much hold. I don't use balm because my favorite statement. I don't use balm because I use oil. Or I don't use balm because I use butter. And it's like, well, okay, both of those not styling products. Balm, styling product.
For sure.
To me, a balm, especially ours, is primarily a styling product, secondarily a nourishing product, right? And so with ours, it's a medium hold, you know, and it's definitely nothing tacky. It's nothing that's going to give you a handlebar mustache at all. It's not a wax. It does have wax in it, but it is not a wax.
Correct.
It is. Don't be confused with the mustache wax.
Right.
But like for today, to give you guys an example, most people think that they don't want a balm because they want to have like good movement and they still want it to be, you know, fluid moving hair. So I have our balm in today and I just use it on my mustache to keep it like it just kind of holds it. My mustache naturally sort of goes like this now, but the balm stick just holds any flyaways from coming out of it. So it keeps it together in that shape, which is nice. And then I also use it on my connectors here on the side. So you'll see it gives like a really nice neckline. And that's not shaved, right? That's just those hairs are this long. Now, when those go down and you comb them in and you heat treat them, they will eventually start curving with that line of your beard. And people make a mistake a lot where they feel like if they want this line, that this is a cut. They think that, and at a certain length, that is a cut, right?
Right.
When you have a beard and your beard is this long, like if my beard stopped right here or here, like that would likely be a trim that creates that line. But when you're any kind of length, people make the mistake, like I did. I speak from experience, not from any amount of previous knowledge, is that I thought that I still had to trim right here to get this angle. And I was really hurting myself more than I was helping. Because what you want to do is just encourage the hair to go this direction, like create this line by pulling the hair and heating it, right? Eventually it starts to curve. And then so like days like today, put a little balm stick on straight out of the tube. I'll use my phone and pretend it's a balm stick, but I'll just go like this straight on, right? Heat it. And that's what you get for the rest of the day. And it's just a nice look. Doesn't look like it has a styling product in it. Doesn't look stiff. It's not unmanageable.
All right, final question topic. It actually seems like a perfect day to kind of bring it up. And I had it on the wheel because we had 3 different people submit it as far as a topic, and I've had countless messages. I even had a YouTube comment about it. And you said something earlier that stuck with me. You said you guys want to grow, but never have the customer, the consumer feel that growth.
Right.
So one area people have been reaching out about, and I know you guys are in a time of transition right now, but it is stock. So for example, I've had in just the last couple of days, multiple people. And when I say multiple, I'm talking like double digit because everyone messages me, which I love. Keep that coming. I like being that middleman where people feel safe, but it's keeping stock. People have been asking about stock. I had a YouTube comment that said, oh, that's the company that never has things in stock. Now, obviously, that's a gross exaggeration and not true. But as you guys are growing, what is the take on keeping products in stock? What are there adjustments coming that people can expect or anything? Because, again, 3 people submitted it as a topic for the random wheel. And then Rob's asking, and Jill did answer this one specifically, but just in general, any thoughts as you guys are growing and being able to keep the products in stock that they're looking for?
Yeah. So one, we'll have a better notification system of when things go out of stock and get back in stock for you guys. So we're going to work on that. We're also, as part of our VIP program, there's going to be some preferred stock as part of some of these VIP programs. Nice. So as you get the VIP program, you know, there might be things that are out of stock public facing, but once you're logged into your account, there might be stock that's reserved for VIP purchases. So we're trying to do things like that. So what I want to do is it's an interesting one because there's an obvious way to solve that problem. And the obvious way to solve that problem is to ship all of our packaging to a co-packer and ship and formulate things here and send them over barrels and have them just pre-load everything for us 4 times a year. And that's what they like to do. They do it quarterly. And you know, and it's just, I think there's a better way to do it. And I think the better way to do it is to pull more and more of our process in-house as opposed to outsourcing any more of it.
For sure.
So one of the things we're looking at doing, for example, is some things with our packaging that makes it so we don't have to worry about labeling. You know, we might go with some more customized bottles in the sense that we might have some things, you know, a different style of packaging that will allow us to have a less manual process to fill. Also, we're adding people to the team, right? So we're taking the things that I used to do that used to be twice a month things for me and making them weekly things for somebody else. that person's coming in tomorrow.
Nice.
And now see what's interesting though about certain things like that with stock is it's just as things grow, right? We never want to overstock because then things get old and we've put ourselves out there financially in a bad way. We don't want to understock because that frustrates people. But I think there is a happy middle zone where there are sometimes going to be things in and out. And I think one of the things we're going to do to help that is a low stock alert for things that you've purchased before. You can actually set that. And so some of the VIP program things handle that as well. So there's some stuff that we want to do, but is the answer going to be, yeah, we see things going out of stock. We're going to quadruple our capacity and just make sure we never run out anymore. Unfortunately, that it can't be our answer to do all the things that we just talked about. So we're going to have better ways of reserving things for the people who are really a part of this community and our regular customers. Like I don't want a first-time buyer to get something off the shelf when somebody that needs it on a monthly basis and has used it for a year wants it, right? And so I think we're going to find logistic ways and ways to handle that with technology while, of course, ramping up production. And just so you guys know, every month we've been doubling the amount of shower products that we bottle and label every 3 months for the past now 12 months.
Wow.
So we've actually doubled the amount that we're labeling and bottling 6 times over almost the past year and a half.
Wow.
So we are growing it as fast as we can. The demand for it is just growing faster than we are.
Yep. All right, guys. I wish we could go deeper and talk more about that stuff, but we are already into overtime today. I want to say thank you guys for hanging out. Still over an hour, 42 people strong on a lunch break on a Tuesday. Pretty insane.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys so much. We will be here next week. Please reach out to the customer service if you need anything. Reach out to Instagram. Dr. Nix is always looking for people to send in pictures using their merch, showing their products, anything like that, because as Nick said, you guys make the roadmap for this company, and they want to show how prideful they are in you. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here and be this co-host, you guys. I'll kick it to Mr. Phelps for the exit.
Oh, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for allowing us another just awesome way to get good information into your guys' heads. We didn't have even time for the random wheel, but we will next week.
I exit it.
Hey, you know what? That's fine. We're going to hit that next week. We'll keep the topics coming. And we hit a couple of the topics that were on there without even spinning the wheel because we knew there were important ones. And
literally true. Yep.
So we will see you guys back here. On the 11th, it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Yep. February 11th, 1:00.
All right, guys, please enjoy the week.